This podcast is brought to you by Noah and Andrew. Repeat sponsors? What is this, cable television? I know. I'm a total sellout. But of all the sponsors who might merit a second portion of publicity, it's Andrew and Noah. Call it redundant, call it overexposure, or call it well-deserved. After all, without them, this podcast would just be called Middle, and it would be far less interesting. Actually, it couldn't even be called middle, because middle means nothing without a little and biggle, without two contrasting ends to the spectrum that can help bring out the center's best bits. And that's what Noah and Andrew do, I realize. Bring out the best in me. Make a middle out of what would otherwise be a meh. Out of a blank space in the universe, or worse, a negative space, something always searching for some identity to help fill it without any idea of where to find it. And Noah and Andrew do help me find it. They've always helped me find that, even before any of us knew what identity meant, or had any concept of self, or the stomach-churning knowledge that a self, or at least a happy self, isn't guaranteed by any universal law. They've helped me define me, and when I've struggled with the me that I've set out for myself, they remind me that definitions are much less defining than I think, and that the definition of me can flex and twist and turn inside out if I wanted to, if I'm willing to take the chance and just give it a try. This sponsorship has no catchphrase, but it doesn't need one. All it needs, all they need, is a thank you. For making me, me. For loving even though they're repaid with far less love than they deserve. For the life I'm not sure I would have continued this long if it weren't for them, my little and biggle. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Little, Middle, and Biggle. I'm your middle brother, Joshua.
I'm your little brother, Andrew. And I'm your biggle brother, Noah.
And we are the ones who will try our best to answer the little, middle, and biggle questions we have in life. So today we've had like a 5-minute delay in recording. First because Noah hadn't thought of a little question, and second because Andrew had to make his mushy hand lotion noises, which were kind of gross. But here we are, and Noah will start us off with the little question, which is,
okay, so now I've thought of two, based on our experiences this morning. So I'll go with the first one because you just mentioned Andrew's hand sounds.
Yes.
What is the grossest sound that you can think of, and why?
Okay, I have a very clear answer to this, but if either of you have one that you just want to throw out there, go for it.
I have to think about this. Like, it's like a sound that almost, nauseates you a little bit. Not just a sound that's, bad or abrasive, but one that you're like off-put by.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely have a clear answer to this. This is maybe you would qualify it as like kind of abrasive or I don't know, but it also nauseates me like thoroughly. It gives me that like creepy crawly worm in the back of the throat feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, okay. So for me, it is the sound of a dry toothbrush on like cement or concrete or anything. Also, the sound of fingernails scratching on that really thin, like kind of felty stuff that's used on the interior of cars, like on the ceilings of cars and stuff. If people scratch that, it just makes me shudder. Literally, it's not like some people dramatic shudder. Like if you scrape a spoon in a bowl, they'll be like, "Oh, it's so gross." But for me, like this is the most visceral kind of disgust I have ever experienced.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, this is like, I don't know if I've ever heard this noise, but when I'm like about to go to sleep,
sometimes, and this all started with a dream when I was like 4 or 5. But
this is not where I was expecting this to go.
Yeah. I had a dream. It was maybe like the harpsichord setting on that little black piano we used to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a dream that like the highest note started playing. And then I associated it with the shot for some reason. And it really freaked me out. And now, like, when I'm about to go to sleep, sometimes I'll, like, start imagining that noise. And I'm imagining it right now, and I don't like it. And it's just, like, unsettling. It also makes me think of really bloated or really skinny hands.
What?
Like, giving you the injection, or?
No, just, like, the concept.
Of bloated, skinny hands.
Or skinny.
Bloated or skinny hands.
Yeah.
Gross.
Weird.
That in and of itself was pretty disgusting to me. Also, I didn't really answer the why for why those noises disgust me so much. The why is I have no idea.
Yeah, that was a tough addition to that question because they just kind of do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, mine was, the reason I thought of it was because, like, wet, sticky things all, like, messing together, like, a little bit like Andrew's lotion hands, but also more so like spaghetti. Whenever you're mixing spaghetti together, that like, yeah, such a gross sound. I love spaghetti though, and so I don't really care. But like as I'm doing that, I'm like, man, this is a gross sound. I mean, it's not enough to make me feel nasty. I don't know if there's any particular sound that's enough to make me feel like, you know, severely off-put. But it's enough to be like, that is just somehow almost a comically unpleasant sound.
Wow. I think I enjoy the sound of the spaghetti mixing.
Really?
Yeah, maybe it's just because I associate it with spaghetti, which is like one of the forbidden pleasures of my life.
Me too.
But it's not a forbidden pleasure for you. It's just a pleasure. Yeah. but yeah, that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyways, middle question.
Yes, middle question, Andrew.
Yep.
Did you have one figured out?
Nope.
Guys, how do you not have these questions figured out? I have this huge list in my notes because I'll be like in the shower and I'll think, oh man, that would be a great question. And I just am always so eager to pick your guys' brains.
I'll think of these questions like while I'm sitting with you guys, and then I'll ask, and then we've already talked about it. So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have one that I can loan to you.
I have plenty I can loan to you, Andrew.
Okay.
If you're really interested. Okay. So, if you could be reborn to any nationality of parents in any country, what would they be and why? What's your favorite conspiracy theory and why? What's a natural wonder that blows your mind? What's a common saying that you disagree with? Would you rather
I like
have...
that one.
Wait, what was the natural wonder? What?
What's a natural wonder that blows your mind?
These are great.
Also available, would you rather have everything you ingest be the same flavor or have a 2% chance that each bite you took would take on an overpowering flavor of athlete's foot? What's your ideal vacation? And what's a guilty pleasure of yours? Any of those strike your fancy?
Those are all great.
Thanks.
I feel like you're going to have to bleep out a big section of that. Just like, those are all amazing. Wow.
No, I mean, okay, these will just be like teasers for questions to come for the listeners.
No, I think you should bleep it because then it's mysterious. I'm going to go with what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
Okay.
So I've just recently watched a video on this and I don't believe it, but it's just kind of intriguing. that the Earth is hollow.
Wow.
And the entrances are at the North and South poles. The evidence for this is that they're in number one in like mythologies. There are always like deep earth dwelling creatures like dwarves and stuff.
Yeah.
Then satellite photographs, for some reason or other, are suspicious and make it look like there's a hole at the top of the Earth. They cited the fact that Saturn, the top of Saturn, is shaped like a hexagon, which it is, and they don't really know why, but it's also very apparent there's not a hole at the top of Saturn. But anyways.
So it was like plugged up by the hexagon.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
The aliens that plugged it up, they couldn't make a circle, but they could make a hexagon the size of the
giant hole.
Yeah. And then there was like some World War II hero who flew over the South Pole. And then when he came back, he was like, yeah, I got sucked into the hole with a tractor beam, and there were these flying saucers around, and we talked with them, and they were amazing. They were so tall. And it was apparently like after he flew over the snowy bit for long enough, he found like a lush green place, and then there was the hole into the center of the Earth. And they say that he's a war hero, so he can't be lying. But I think there's a bit of a problem with that logic.
So in the center of the Earth, or like the flip side of the crust, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So there is more than just like caves. It's not just like one big giant cave with dwarves and goblins and stuff. There's like lush stuff.
Yeah, and like light and everything.
Where's the light come from?
I don't know.
Great.
I mean, I know they said something in the 40-minute video that I wasted 40 minutes of my life on, but...
Wait. Okay, correction. I don't think you know the meaning of the word wasted, because that does not sound like a waste of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, apparently, the Nazis believed in this, and they like sent expeditions to the North and South Pole to figure it out too. Yeah.
Well, everyone knows you can trust the Nazis.
Sure enough.
Wow. Okay. That's
Hollow Earth.
That's, really fascinating to me. It also makes me think of Earth as like a giant flatworm, where like there's a mouth, there's an anus, and inside is hollow.
Yeah. Actually, flatworms don't even have a mouth and an anus, right? They just have a mouth anus.
Oh, wow.
Which brings me to my little question for next week. If you could have only an anus or only a mouth, which would you choose and why?
Wait, okay, but if you only have an anus, then that has to be a mouth anus. And if you only have a mouth, that also has to be a mouth anus.
Well, no, maybe it's like toads where you absorb through your skin.
Also, those mites that live in your eyelashes, they only have a mouth, and they don't use it as an anus. They just fill up with poop, and then they die.
What a horrible way to die.
Or you could just absorb food like through your skin or something, or some other weird way, and then poop. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if there's a biological example of that. There probably is somewhere.
I would definitely rather only have an anus, because dying of constipation. Oh, wow.
Yeah, what a way to go.
Yeah, seriously, hard pass.
Yeah. Not my cup of tea. What would you do, Andrew? Since I'm just gonna finagle this extra little question in here.
Does it take time to eat still if you're like absorbing it through your skin? Or does it take like your focus?
Oh, so you're thinking like if you could just be walking around and absorbing nutrients.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a photosynthesizer.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
That also needs an anus.
I mean, pooping is nice.
Like a photosynthetic animal that's just you're just solar powered. The only downside is you got to be solar powered, so it's gonna feel pretty crummy on cloudy days.
I mean, you could live in Hawaii.
It's cloudy in Hawaii sometimes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, presuming that we're still human-esque, we have some form of storage. So you could just, be a really, stocked up, fat, photosynthetic anus beast. And
photosynthetic anus beast.
Title of the episode.
Yep. Some ridiculous thing I just remembered from the Hollow Earth conspiracy is that, if the Earth was hollow and there were people on the other side of the crust, gravity would not work the way we thought it was. So they were like, Einstein predicted gravitational waves and stuff, but it's still just a theory. We don't really know how gravity works. So it might as well just be wrong.
Wow.
Yep.
A moment of silence for all those dead brain cells.
Yeah.
Noah, what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
That's a really tough one because I don't know. I don't really listen to a whole lot of conspiracy theories.
I don't either. That was a friend recommendation, just so our family still respects me.
Well, I mean, watching some conspiracy theory video is not like a terrible thing. It's not like you're buying into them and making your life decisions based on there being holes on the North and South Pole. Just, what an interesting and somewhat amusing thought. Heck, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have a good answer to this because I don't know if I know any. I was actually just going to make one up and just actually, I'm just going to do that and we're just going to see how believable I can make it.
Okay.
That it's actually a conspiracy theory. So there's this conspiracy theory about rainbows. So how whenever you think of rainbows and you're like, wow, you could get to the base of that or something, or get closer and closer to it. But in reality, no matter how hard you try, you can never get there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the conspiracy theory, which I really buy into, is this: rainbows aren't just a fragmented light. They're actually living light-based creatures that are just really allergic to humans.
Whoa.
So the reason that leprechauns can stay at the bottom is because leprechauns are real too, by the way. There's loads of evidence for this.
Yeah.
I won't go into it now.
Nobody's questioning that.
Yeah. So leprechauns can stay at the bottom because rainbows are not allergic to leprechauns. So they kind of have a symbiotic relationship of sorts. But they're highly allergic to humans, and so as soon as humans try and get close to them, they're always getting further and further away.
And so that's why leprechauns have the pot of gold, is so that the rainbows can give to humans and as an apology.
No, I thought that it was that rainbows ate gold. And so it's an offering to the rainbows to get them to come, and then they come if you hold out a handful of feed for cows, the rainbow just comes toddling up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then the rainbow provides protection for the leprechauns because leprechauns, don't want to be seen by humans. And so if they just hitch a ride on the rainbow, they always are staying away from the humans.
So why can't you see rainbows when it's not the right weather conditions?
Because that's just the conditions they like to come
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it's you don't see owls during the day, and no one's oh man, owls aren't real.
Some
birds
flowers
aren't real, Joshua. You know that.
How that would have been a good
That
one too.
is actually a good one.
Some flowers only bloom at certain times of day, or when it rains or something.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it really rains hard, it's because a human got too close and the rainbow is sneezing. And so that's what all the...
That is not the most ridiculous conspiracy theory I've ever heard. I think Hollow Earth is perhaps the most ridiculous. And maybe birds aren't real. Joshua, what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh man, there are so many. Really though, the one that really hits me in the heart is the conspiracy theory of just UFOs in general and the idea that the government knows about them and has, like in Area 51, has a crashed UFO spaceship craft, unidentified flying object spaceship craft. Apparently, I don't know what UFO stands for.
Oh, that's okay.
Unidentified flying objects, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that I really love the idea that they have one of those, just because that seems just plausible enough. Also, it's something that I really, really want to believe, because if that is a secret that is out there, then that means that is something that I could find out someday, and I could experience the having of extraterrestrial life on our planet. And that is just so cool to me. Really, the idea of any big secret is super attractive to me. So I am a total sucker for any conspiracy theory. But yeah, that one is big on the list.
Why don't you feel the same about intraterrestrial life?
I mean, I didn't have any doubt with that one. You sold me.
Okay.
100%. But yeah. Yep. Definitely. Aliens.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is turning out to be a faster episode than expected. So my big old question is, what is something that you are trying to work on in yourself?
Nothing. I'm perfect.
Yeah. Me, I will go first since I asked the question to give you guys a little time to think. So for me, it is martyring myself, which, let me explain what I mean by this. Whenever somebody does something that could potentially bother someone, and it doesn't really bother me, and I'm totally fine about it until they start apologizing. And when they start apologizing, instead of being like, oh no, that's fine, I'm just like, no, that's okay. Really, it's okay. It just, broke my heart a little bit on the inside. And I realize how just totally stupid that is, but it is just my natural instinct, and I have no idea where that comes from. So I'm making a very conscious effort to evaluate how I feel about things before I interact with whoever is either causing the inconvenience or brings it up or something, and not just get frustrated because it is expected of me or because that is how I feel like I should react.
So is it more that you react that way because it's your instinct to have that reaction, or because once someone apologizes to you for something, you then feel more like you felt bad about it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I feel worse off when I do the martyring thing and I say oh really, it's okay, instead of just being like, what? I didn't even notice, Yeah. And when I take that second route, I feel like that is the truer reality, and the one that leaves me feeling better.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think I actually kind of have that problem sometimes too, but my reaction is I just so very much dislike whenever I'm totally fine with something and someone is apologizing or trying to make me feel better, and that would be a good pet peeve. But now that it's been months since we asked the pet peeve question, every now and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's pet peeve. But yeah, someone trying to comfort me or make me feel better when I already totally feel fine. But and it makes me feel a little bit like something must be wrong, But I think maybe I just dislike it even more. But my reaction is to just completely push it away. No, stop! No, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's the way that you should respond. I don't think that's necessarily perfect either.
No, I get you.
But it's interesting that you say that. Yeah,
it's interesting to hear that you also kind of have a similar problem, though. I thought that I was totally alone in this, and that whenever people are it's okay, really, no, it's fine, that they always genuinely believed that, and instead, and like I had genuinely inconvenienced them by the act and not the apologizing. And
yeah, over apologizing can still be sucky. I think there's an art to giving a good, succinct apology to something that does not bring further distress onto a person, but it's like, hey, my bad. Let me if there's anything that I can do to make it better. If it's not a big deal, then cool. And I don't even know if that's not even the right way to do it. But
that would be awesome if apologies worked like that.
I mean, how do you think apologies work?
Like, the person being apologized to has the upper hand and can, like, get away with much more than usual.
So they're, like, indebted to you? Or you are indebted to them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, like, the nature of an apology, is saying, I wronged you, tell me how I can make it right, which is really what Noah was saying, but Noah was just saying it in much milder terms.
Although I don't know if that's how I think of every apology. Some apologies are just, hey, I acknowledge that I messed up.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, because sometimes there is no way to like right a particular wrong. Like, it doesn't have to be something major. It can just be some, like, you know.
I ate the last cookie.
I cannot barf it up and give it to you without that being, you know, the apology being worse than the crime.
Yeah.
But, you know, hey, my bad for doing that. I acknowledge that was a silly thing to do.
Are you guys okay with a slight diversion? Because I have to say, that is one of my deepest fears, like eating the last of something, because I know that it is just completely irremediable. And, like, there will be times when I just, like, I think about doing that, and I think about someone's reaction. Like, I think about what would happen if I ate the last cookie or something, and Andrew was like, hey, where did those cookies go?
Mm-hmm.
And I will literally, like, be moved to the point of tears, and I will feel a lump in my throat, and I'm just, I'm so sorry. I think this comes from a history of just being a very greedy and selfish child.
I don't see you as a greedy and selfish child.
That makes one of us.
But that's a very noble stance to take about the cookies, because, like, that's, I feel like, the kind of apology that means absolutely nothing, because you took that cookie knowing full well it was the last cookie and that somebody else would also enjoy that cookie, unless you live alone, but that's a different problem.
Well, you could not know that it was, or you could not know that someone else was going to want it.
Yeah.
Okay, very few times will that apology mean something.
With you in the household, yes, because you are a cookie monster.
I am, yes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there are definitely times when, like, if you're in a mixed group of friends and, like, you think that everyone has had a cookie from the birthday party cookie thing, and you've seen, like, other people going back for seconds, and you're like, you know, I'll go back for seconds too, and you take the last cookie, and then you realize that, like, someone was in the bathroom and did not get a cookie.
Well, that's just when you ask, hey, everybody gotten a cookie? And if they're in the bathroom, why were they in the bathroom while they were serving cookies?
Wow, that's merciless. I would still feel terrible. I would feel like the smut of the earth.
But also, you feel so terrible about that, and you would probably profusely apologize. But then your apology is probably much more extreme than the actual crime, because whoever didn't get a cookie probably doesn't really care that they didn't get a cookie. Like, not getting the last cookie is not really a big deal in any way, shape, or form.
Unless they're, like, 4 years old.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if it's a small child, that is different, you know.
Yeah.
This may also stem from my childhood of just loving junk food. But...
Oh, but missing out on the last cookie would have been...
Yeah, it would have been it would have been, like, a bummer for me. But also, okay... So what I would do in this situation, I would not apologize probably. Probably what I would do is I would, like, go up to them and I would be like, I ate the last cookie. I will buy you a freaking box full at the nearest possible opportunity.
And what if they say, "Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it."
Then I'd be like, okay, great.
Yeah.
But if I had apologized and said, I'm sorry, I ate the last cookie, and they said, oh, don't worry about it, I would feel like you don't understand the wrong that I've done to you. Yeah.
It was so good. It was the most delicious cookie ever.
Yeah. Okay, before we went on that tangent about me having a fear of eating the last cookie, Andrew, you were about to say something. What was that something?
I have no idea.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
Do either of you guys have a thing that you are working on in yourselves currently?
Not being angry. I mean, I'm not angry that
You're
much.
such an
anyways.
angry person, Andrew.
Yeah, but I mean, just more and more, I'm like, why spend any time being angry? It is not worth it.
So what are the action steps that you're taking towards this goal?
When I start getting angry, be like, hey, bad. Stop it.
When usually
There you
when I get
All right, great
angry,
answer.
I'm not like in the frame of mind where I can just catch myself.
Yeah, and that certainly happens sometimes. But I've more and more been able to, like when I'm feeling down and I'm just like laying on my bed, like, oh, what do I even do with the rest of this day? Being like, there are a lot of good things to do with the rest of this day. You shouldn't be sulking. You have nothing to sulk about. And then I get up and I can operate. And that's awesome.
So do you feel, what were you going to say?
Reading Marcus Aurelius helps us. To everybody at home, read Marcus Aurelius.
What is Marcus Aurelius?
He was a Roman...
Wait, he was a philosopher of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you guess?
And he
Because Andrew
actually
is now a philosopher.
just like wrote this stuff in his journal. Then people found it after he died, and they're like, "Hey, that's good stuff."
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
He's the one who was like, "This too is part of nature. The stupid people too are part of nature."
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with the sulking that you were talking about, do you feel like just having nothing to do is the key factor in driving you to sulking and anger? Just because that was kind of the impression I got when you were talking about being on your bed and being like, what do I even do with the rest of this day?
It's certainly a factor. But also when I'm just like not enjoying what I need to do. Like with schoolwork, if it was like history, I had a very hard time doing that. But then if I could think like, this is really cool. This is something that happened and that still affects me. Then I could get up and do it. Rationalization. Maybe that's my process for stopping being mad. See, like it used to make me so mad when you would tell me my voice that I was doing the voice cracky thing.
Which I just did.
Yeah. And like when I would touch my foot to something that was going to make noise, it would make me so mad when you'd like shove it away. But now I'm just like, it's not worth it to be mad.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that made you angry.
Oh, it's okay.
He's just trying to help.
I just like having control over every aspect of my life.
Also, if you had ever edited one of the episodes,
yeah, Joshua does 95% of the work of these. He like
And
edits
goes
it.
to medical school.
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. So, as with many things in anger, I think understanding goes a long way. But
Yeah, that's definitely true.
yeah, and like even going off of that, sometimes when I was home for my gap year, it was almost a little bit angering for me when I saw you get angry, just because I was like, why are you getting so frustrated when you have this wonderful opportunity to like not be going to medical school? And and not have that sword hanging over your head. But like, also, I have had a number of very deep and insightful conversations with Dad about how you are so much more of a social creature than I am, and that not having anything to do, or more specifically, like nobody to do and engage in things with, is like, you know, the antithesis. Yeah. Just like, you know, medical school and doing super non-creative things for hours and hours a day is like the antithesis of my being and makes me miserable. Like that, because it is a different flavor of the same pain, does not make it a pain that is non-existent.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Noah, what is something that you're working on?
Can I do two
Yeah,
small ones?
Sure.
Okay. One is kind of specific to this year, and it's just whenever I, especially if I've not been seeing people a lot, if I'm feeling, you know, if I see people say something stupid or hear them say something dumb or whatever, which, you know, or do something silly, which has happened a lot this year just because, you know, we don't see people in person very often. We just see like someone go out to a party with no masks or have like a wedding with like a whole bunch of extended family in like, you know, October. And we're like, that seems like a silly thing to do. Or, you know, someone like buying into an actual really negative conspiracy theory or something. And that's not, you know, I don't know the whole story behind it. And I just see that one little glimpse, but it gives me this like negative idea about that person. And for some reason, like sometimes I kind of stew on it and I end up thinking of that person more negatively because of things that I imagine in my head. And then I stop and I'm like, I'm feeling grumpy towards this person because of something that they did in my imagination.
Yeah.
There's no, like, that makes no sense whatsoever. And that I've gotten a lot. It doesn't happen a lot now, but
that's the dad in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's a silly thing to do. And it's also silly if you're ever feeling, you know, like you disagree with someone's actions or what they say or whatever, to just assume the worst of them. Because one, that's good to have people around that you disagree with. And two, you shouldn't just I shouldn't just run down this rabbit hole of thinking that, oh, well, they said this, they must say all these things or whatever, without talking to them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's never the case. There was actually one time earlier this year where in my big, like my college friends' big group chat on Snapchat, someone had said something kind of, I don't know, it was like, kind of like a joke, but it was kind of Trumpy sounding, like very, not just conservative, but like kind of negative. And a couple people started like just a discussion, and me and this other guy were like, oh man, I can't do this right now. Sorry. And someone hopped on there and was like, discussion helps avoid, echo chambers. I was like, oh yeah, dang it. Crud, he's right. And then we all just like talked for like 2 hours and had a really good discussion, and no one was actually like a terrible person, you know? Like, everyone just had really good things to say, and not everyone completely agreed, but no one was, you know, like actually as negative, anywhere near as negative as my mind would have gone towards, you know? So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the same question that I did for Andrew. What are you going to do to, like, how do you enact this, not just going down rabbit holes of thinking poorly about people? Is it just like by engaging with those discussions like you did in Snapchat, or? That's definitely a big one, but really
the main thing is just to not do it in the first place. Like if I start, going down that dark cloudy mood of feeling grumpy about someone, then I just kind of have been practicing not doing that and just reminding myself like at first it was just, this is something I've thought about for like a year. At first it was just realizing that was silly, even though I still feel like grumpy. This isn't something that happens all the time either, but like every once in a while it does, and it's just it's like enough that I'm like that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't like the idea of ever thinking negatively about someone for something they didn't do, or just because I am misinterpreting something they said.
Yeah.
But first just realizing that it's happening, even if I still feel grumpy about it. And then once I realize it, being like, okay, you're still thinking about this. Stop imagining that. None of that is true. That all just like happened in your imagination a second ago, except for like, and it all stemmed from them like saying this one thing or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they did. It's no big deal. And yeah, and then just kind of doing that every time I think about it, it's gotten to a point where it just doesn't really bother me too much. I don't know if this is a problem that anyone else ever has, but if you do, just remember, like, just look back to whatever it is that that they actually, the quote unquote transgression that the person had, even if it wasn't something that was actually a bad thing for them to do, it just like spurned you like thinking something negative about them, and realize that that's all that they actually did.
Yeah.
And then and that's pretty much enough in and of itself. And then talking to people is also a really good thing.
Yeah. Andrew, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay, then Noah, what was your second one?
Oh, the second one was less serious. It's just being okay with not having things to do.
Oh man, would you figure out how to do that?
Yeah, it's
Drop
just
me a line.
It's just hard. Like a couple days ago, I'd been doing school all semester, and then like I finished and I like worked on my app like crazy for a few days, and then got here and worked on presents like crazy for a few days, and then I finished them, and I had no big projects to do and nothing big to work on, and I just felt bummed.
Yeah.
And it's not good, because those are the times when suddenly I have time to just spend with people, completely unabridged, and I just kind of feel bummed,
Mm-hmm.
like I want to be able to just hang out during those times and have a good time and take advantage of not having a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
How do we do that? That one I don't have a good answer. I've not been successful in defeating.
One thing that I have, so I will preface this by saying I'm still pretty bad at it too, but one thing that has helped me being away at school in medical school, where you're pretty much just like in a suffer cave for multiple years at a time.
You know what? Stop.
Okay.
Stop being so cynical about medical school. You like every single time you say medical school in a sentence, you also say something negative about it.
Okay. I'm sorry that I angered you so much.
You didn't anger me.
No, I saw rage in those eyes.
I mean, passion, not rage.
Actually, okay. That's. I feel a little bit less passionate about this, but one thing that might be helpful would be if you are feeling negative about it, just to think of the positive things too. Like, granted, you're in the first 2 years of medical school where you just kind of have to study and do garbage, but there's one positive of you'll eventually get to do nice things for people, which is great. And there's another positive of you have friends and see people, and every time you talk about that, at least you seem really happy.
Yeah, I definitely did not have friends before medical school. I think though, to maybe back up, or at least explain my cynicism. I would say honesty about medical school, but cynicism. Okay, we could say cynicism. Because I saw the spark of anger rekindling in Andrew's eyes.
Andrew looks like an old lady, just looking down her glasses at someone.
Yes, librarian style.
Yeah.
Tell me about how hard your life is in this route to a very well-paying job. I think it is because I feel like this is a life that had I been really reasonably thinking about it and not pressured by any external sources, I would not have chosen this for myself. But because of the way the world is and the way our family is structured and the expectations that partly had been placed on me, but partly that I had set up for myself just by being good at the things that I'm good at and bad at the things that I'm bad at, all of those kind of led to me making this decision to lead a life that I feel like does not really align with my values. And so I live with that cognitive dissonance every single day. And it does get hard. It wears on you to live a life thinking, this is not what I wanted.
So is it the life that you're currently living, or is it really the idea of being a healthcare provider that just doesn't sit well with you?
I think it's both. Definitely mostly the life that I'm living right now, just like feeling my imagination become less flexible and my hobbies boil down to like the core two that I have the time to cultivate.
Yeah, which is going to be med school. I mean, that's even with all the experience that I had prior, which has given me so much more free time this year. It's still, even PA school has kind of been boiled down to that for me too. Mm-hmm. But then what about being a healthcare provider let's split it up, would you like and dislike? Like what positive things would you enjoy about it and what would you dislike? Not thinking of it as deciding to do it or not, but just if you were in that position, what would you enjoy and what would you wish was not a thing?
Okay, so the things that I would enjoy, definitely like people interaction. Mm-hmm. That's great. Love me some people. Also, the sensation that I'm contributing to society in a tangible way, though that is definitely not, in my eyes, limited to medical school.
No, definitely not.
Or being a physician.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you're guaranteed a chance to do that.
Yeah. Not enjoying, or just like things that I enjoy that medicine limits, is just creating. I love creating. That is my passion. In like, if I were to pick the broadest passion I could, it would be creation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really do not like fixing as much as I used to. I really actually kind of hate fixing. I would so much rather just like put things out into the world. Or, okay, hate fixing other things that I have not created. If I'm like tweaking things that I've created to make them better before release, that is so fulfilling to me. Because I think, wow, like someday somebody might find this and it might like totally make their day. And that is what I want to do with my life. Again, if we are talking in the broadest senses of things, is like make things that make other people's days and not just like put out the fires. I want to just like build a new house entirely, to extend the metaphor perhaps further than it should be extended. And yeah, did that answer your question, or did I just ramble for 5 minutes?
No, I think that was a good answer. So it's the things that you would enjoy are people and doing good.
Yes.
And the things that are abhorrent is maybe a strong word, but that are...
I love strong words.
That are abhorrent to... I mean, I'm just proud of like having a good word every now and then.
Yeah,
you know?
that's good. That's a good one.
But the things that you really don't like are that there's basically the creativity part of it. You don't like the idea of a large portion of your life being fixing problems and not creating new things.
Yeah.
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 That's interesting. Because for me, I completely, every bit of that resonates with me, except for not liking fixing things. Because I totally like fixing things. And I'm not saying you're wrong or anything. It's interesting because you and I are very similar in a lot of ways with all of this, but then also like have some core differences. And one of the things that I totally do like about medicine is fixing things. Like if there's, like there are a couple hinges on the cupboards downstairs that I've thought about grabbing some screws and like fixing, because it's just fun to do. But
yeah, in that situation, I would definitely just like outsource that fixing. I'd just be like, somebody come fix this for me so that I can free up the mental energy for other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fixing things is not something that you enjoy, which makes me, so on the creative side though, I wonder, I'm not saying that there necessarily are or aren't, but I'm curious what ways medicine could be a creative outlet and what ways it could, what ways it is inherently not a creative. I was going to say sport. It's not really a sport. A creative endeavor.
Yeah, I think pretty much the main, or at least my perception is the main creative thing you can do is research, which just holds no appeal to me. Just because that's just holds no appeal to me. Great respect for researchers. Don't want to do it myself. Yeah. Andrew, I am so sorry that we have left you out of this conversation entirely.
No, it's okay.
What are your thoughts as an observer to all of this?
I do have one more thought about the creativity too.
Go for it.
Chance. Is okay if I go into it? Okay. So the creativity, the other thing, at least in my experience, and from what people say, that where the other place where creativity plays a role in healthcare is in the actual fixing of things. Because every patient is different, and every time they present with a disease, it's different. And especially in, if you did childhood psychiatry, like rural childhood psychiatry, no patient is going to present the same as the next, even if they have the same disorder, a similar background or whatever. Like they're all going to be different, and you have to be creative about, with the tools that you have, fixing that person or making their life better. But that is still fixing. It's just you have to use creativity to fix it. It's not like, okay, well, there's a screw out on the cupboard downstairs. We're going to get one and put it in. It's like, it's like this cupboard is different from all of the others, and there is no screw that fits it. How do we make it attach and function again so that it can be a part of society or the kitchen? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it still just loses its appeal because it is the generation of a solution and not something original and magical and escapist.
So for you, like, the creativity is not just creativity in and of itself, it's specifically creating a new thing.
Yes, creation.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, go ahead.
I think, you don't have to answer this. I think you should ponder how much you don't like medical school just because you have trained yourself to resent it.
There is a little bit of validity with that, because I think you do sometimes go really hard on disliking or liking something, and I think actually we kind of all do to an extent. where we just kind of, we get really into things. And so, like,
sometimes really into hating them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, college for me, like, the first couple of years really was, I did not enjoy college. And it was not, a great experience to begin with. Like, I did not like the way the classes were set up, yada, yada. But I mean, there was still loads of material that I found really interesting or find really interesting now. And I just felt really negatively towards it. I'm not saying that this just means that you're going to love medical school or something and suddenly it's going to be great. But just along the lines of, I don't know, if you're going to be there for any amount of time, to me, it's worth, in anything that you're a part of, it's worth trying to make the most of it. That's not a good way to put it. It's worth, trying your best to enjoy it and like really enjoy it, not force yourself to, but just like open the doors to anything good and enjoyable about it, and then taking hold of those things, because either you're going to realize that you really love it and it's going to be a great part of your life, or it's not going to be something you keep doing, but it's going to suck less while you're doing it.
Yeah. And like, that's what made the spark of passion in my eyes when I started this whole conversation.
Anger.
Was like...
Oh, sorry. I know I'm moving. Okay, there we go.
I feel like you would be way better off mentally if you would... That sounds really critical. I don't mean that in a mean way. If you'd stop saying negative things about medical school all the time and just take it as what the positive things are. Like, you're not going to ever enjoy something if you constantly convince yourself that it sucks. And actively convince yourself that it sucks.
Although, adding to that, you don't have to convince yourself that it doesn't suck. If something sucks, it sucks. But there are things about it that are not... There are things about it that you enjoy. You enjoy having friends. You occasionally will tell me about something that you're like, wow, this was really cool that I learned about this today. Doesn't mean that, you're necessarily going to just end up really loving it and going all the way through. But at least it will make the experience better. And if nothing else, I mean, going back to like the first 2 years of college for me, I didn't get a whole lot out of that educational experience because I was just not enjoying it. But if I had just had like a positive attitude towards it and not been so jaded about the whole experience, then I probably would have not only had a much less crummy time, but I would have gotten something useful out of it. Like, if you end up stopping medical school at some point or even if you went all the way through and then never worked as a physician or something, that knowledge is still something that you're adding to your experience and your tool base. And thinking of creative things, being able to have any extra experiences, any extra knowledge, anything like that, just adds to what you can do and who you are. The thing that I think is hard is whenever you are being beat with it so much that you don't have the opportunity to flex those creative muscles, it feels like you end up losing a lot of that. And I don't know what a good remedy for that is. I'm not saying this is great for your creativity overall, but it's going to be better if you have a good attitude towards as much of it as possible and enjoy as much of it as possible for however long you're doing any amount of medicine for the rest of your life. It'll just be a better experience. I don't know. Or you can just stop. But I mean, it's I don't know. I think it is, no matter what your decision is, even if you are thinking about stopping or if you're just dead set on going all the way through, just looking for as much positivity and trying to pull as much good stuff out of it as possible will, no matter what, make it feel better now and make it feel like less of a waste of time later. But that's just my thoughts. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are, wow, I'm sorry that this episode turned into psychotherapy for Joshua.
It's kind of Andrew's fault. So
yeah.
But I mean, this has been a good conversation too. This is you're working on. Your question was like, what have you been working on?
Yeah.
Right? So this is along the same lines. I don't know. What are your thoughts on our advice and such? And they can be completely that you're wrong and everything. I'm
Also,
curious.
we do not have to publish this.
Yeah,
but there's no way that we get like an hour of audio every month. So, like, this is our month of audio. I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I respect the thought of trying to talk yourself out of it and see the brights in it. But at the same time, I have, in the past, when I felt this level of depression, the talk yourself out of it has never really been effective.
I don't know if talk yourself out of it is... Sorry, I shouldn't be cutting you off.
No, it's totally fine.
I don't know if talk yourself out of it is exactly what I'm going for. It's more like don't pretend like it doesn't suck, you know? But just be open to when you enjoy something, to focusing on that more than you would otherwise. Like, just, you have a good day or you have a good moment or a good experience, just spending more mental energy on that than on, man, this sucks.
I do like the idea of setting your expectation, like your baseline expectation of just like, well, yep, this is going to be hell, but
Yeah, well, that is...
but
it's
there will
reasonable.
be bright points, and take those bright points as bonuses and not the few times when it is up to the standards that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. The main thing that I'm thinking is that I need to do more thinking about this. So,
Which is really hard to do when you are just being bombarded with stuff all the time. And on top of that, you're fighting to, fighting isn't necessarily the right word. You're just like, you're very good at organizing your time and squeezing every bit of use out of it. So you're studying all the time, doing med school, which is already crazy. And then you're also writing and like spending time talking with your family and your friends and everything. And it's hard to just sit down and have time to think, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You seem to get super zoned in on doing a whole lot of stuff, and I totally do it too. But like, sometimes it's good for us just to sit and think. I don't know. Anyways, sorry. You were saying something, and I keep having thoughts that I'm excited about, and then I ramble.
No, that's fine. Usually I feel like I'm the one doing that. So, yeah. I will give this all more thought.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
You have such an awesome opportunity right now of no medical school for a couple weeks, and you can really think while you're writing or while you're doing whatever hobby you've been looking forward to doing. Could this really make me happy consistently for a long period of time?
One thing I would say about if you were just doing writing, one of the coolest things about seeing you do med school has been your interactions with other people. And that seems, at least from an outside perspective, to in and of itself bring you a lot of joy and mental fortitude, maybe. And no matter what you do, and I'm not saying that this is saying you have to do medical school or not do medical school. No matter what you do, I think that is a very important part of Joshua being Joshua is other people, which you definitely seem aware of, but sometimes just the interaction with other people and realizing that people really like you and that you're a cool person and that they all think you're a cool person seems to be something that you struggle with. And so...
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
You should start a coffee shop bookstore.
Oh, man.
That actually sounds like a miserable...
Yeah, what a swerve that would be.
That sounds awesome.
I'm going to refrain from giving my opinion by starting the credits. This podcast is created by the three of us, written by none of us, and edited and produced by me, Joshua. Hopefully it's also listened to and enjoyed by you, but no pressure, hey? I also realized that there's a typo in here somewhere that Andrew said last time that I said that I would fix, and that I definitely didn't fix. So I'm gonna see if I can catch it before I get there. Join us next time as we unravel more of the world's big questions, or maybe just get tangled up in them. We'll see how things go when we get there. And if you have any questions, there it is, questions with an S, comma, suggestions, second comma, or ideas on how we could make this podcast better, send us a message at littlebitofbeagle@outlook.com. Love, thanks, and T-Rex hugs from all of us. We couldn't have done this without you. Say bye, everyone.
Bye.